Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Go to my cheat sheet for today's MLB main slate for today on DraftKings. We have a full 15 game slate on tap, so I'm looking forward to breaking that down for you guys. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on my new videos, I would really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and if you want access to my entire MLB sheet and my Slack chat, you can hit the link in the description below for my Patreon. So anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get into the main sheet. So I have 4 pitchers I'm interested in tomorrow. So we got Zack Wheeler, Zack Greinke, Chase Anderson, and Cortes. So let's get into a little preview of the pitching sheet, which I do have available on Patreon, just so we can get a look of why I like these guys. So Zack Wheeler at 10,600, he leads the way for me out of all the pitchers. He's been great this season, 3.77 xFIP, 26% K rate, doesn't allow a lot of hard contact whatsoever at 31%. But the thing I like about him the most is just the matchup versus the Miami Marlins. So the Marlins are a very, very weak team versus right-handed pitching. So they have a 25.3% K rate, 123 team ISO, 280 WOBO, 75 WRC+. That's weak numbers. Now, if you think the Detroit Tigers are bad versus right-handed pitching, the Marlins have a 20-point lower team ISO versus righties, so that's pretty dramatic. So I do think this is a fantastic matchup for Wheeler. He's got good strikeout stuff, and I think he has 30-point upside in this matchup. And then Zack Greinke, another guy I'm interested in. So he went to the Astros. If you didn't know that, I'm sure you do know that if you're a big baseball fan. And what happens when pitchers go to the Astros? They turn elite. And the thing is, Greinke was already good. This isn't like how bad Verlander was that season, then he gets traded to the Astros. Greinke was already good, so if they can make him even better, I think this is a fantastic play at only the 4-digit salary range, because I do think he deserves to be in that 10K plus range. So I do think we get a good value here, and I think he's a decent GPP pivot option off of Zack Wheeler. So he's going against the Colorado Rockies away from Coors. Now, I love targeting the Rockies away from Coors. Last time Greinke played the Rockies, might not have been the last time, but last time I remember when they played the Rockies on the road, I said to play Zack Greinke versus them, and he had a fantastic game. This was either in June or July. He had 35 points. He just threw an absolute gem. The Rockies are a complete different team away from Coors Field. And like I said, Greinke went to the Astros. Maybe they did a little tweak to him, and I don't know. Maybe if he can get even better, that'd be amazing. I mean, I know he's getting really up there in age, but you never know. They did it with Verlander, so maybe take him to another step. I mean, Aaron Sanchez threw a no-hitter in the bullpen, and then Verlander had an awesome game as well. So, Astros pitching is just absolutely insane. You got Greinke, Verlander, Garrett Cole, just pretty much unfair. So, anyway, 3.73 xFIP for Greinke. 24% K rate, doesn't walk a lot of guys at 3%, doesn't allow too much hard contact at 35%. So I do like him, and then it's really just the matchup. If I showed you guys the matchups, it's going to be skewed because of their numbers in Coors, but overall their numbers get nerfed way down away from their home field. So I do like Zack Greinke. Then Chase Anderson, do I love the matchup? No, I don't, but he's too cheap in my opinion. He's pretty safe for double-digit points almost every time out. He does have that 20-point upside. And we don't love righties versus Pittsburgh, but he's a reverse splits righty, so I think that's going to work a little bit in his favor. He should see a decent amount of lefties, and he's much better versus lefties. So if you just look at his overall splits, if I can pull them up. Oh, they're right there. Okay. So, yeah, Chase Anderson splits. He is only allowing a 129 ISO to lefties, only a 236 WOBA, 22% K rate. And if you look at splits versus righties, it goes up to 225, a little bit higher strikeout rate and a higher WOBA. So he's better versus lefties, and I do think he can have an okay game here. He is a favorite. I do expect the Brewers to win this game versus Stephen Brault. So I think he can get a cheap win. I think he can get us 15 points, and honestly, it's 6K. I think that's your SP2 tomorrow. And then Cortes, so I don't actually have him on the sheet yet. I actually loaded up Chad Green just because he's the opener. As of right now. I mean, I've seen actually 2 different things for 2 different sites, but I know Cortes is the projected long reliever at this moment, according to DraftKings, so hopefully they're not wrong. But it's really just a matchup plan. At 4K, he is free as pitching goes, and it's a good matchup. We don't need much to hit value. Technically, we only need like 8 to 10 points to hit value, and I think he's got upside for more there. Now, it's not a good park for pitching in Camden Yards, but if you look at the splits versus lefties for the Baltimore Orioles, it is not very good. Let me get my face out of the way here. So yeah, they got a 26.7% K rate versus lefties, which is second most on the entire slate. And they're going to see a bunch of green bars going across. So I do think it's a pretty good matchup for Cortes as long as he gets a decent enough innings. I'm not actually sure how long he's going to be going, but if he can, even if he goes 3 innings, he gets you 4 strikeouts, doesn't give up a run somehow, I think that's going to pay off value. I do think Chase Anderson's a little safer, but Cortes definitely has upside at that 4K range. So that's enough of pitching. Let's just get into the batters now, position by position. So we got JT Realmuto at 4,500. I do like this Arizona and Philly game. I think there could be some runs scored. 2 bad pitchers on the mound. Although Mike Leake did have a couple good games in a row, but he's not a good pitcher. He's a reverse splits guy. He's versus righties. Realmuto is good versus righties and lefties. So I do think this is a pretty good spot for Realmuto. And then Alex Avila at 4K. Gets a great matchup versus Jake Arrieta. Jake Arrieta is a trash can when it comes to lefties. He's not the best versus righties either, but lefties he is really, really bad. So I do like Alex Avila versus the righties. He's always been really good versus righties in his career. Then Manny Pena at 3,400. He's gonna get he should get the start going against a lefty as he usually does, and he's been very good versus lefties this season. Stephen Brault is not a very good lefty, and he's been susceptible to power versus righties. So Manny Pena makes a lot of sense, and the Brewers are a pretty decent stack tomorrow, although I don't even have much listed, but guys like Braun, Kane, Pena, and some other guys are in decent spots. And then at first base, we got Rhys Hoskins at 4,500. Really the same reasons as JT Realmuto. He's 40. I think they're the same price, actually. Yeah, same price, so kind of the same play, but Hoskins has much better home run upside, and he's been good versus righties and lefties in his career. Mike Leake is very bad versus righties, so he just makes a lot of sense to me. My throat is really dry. Then we got G-Man Choi at 4,100. Man, the Rays absolutely sucked last night. They had 0 runs. I think G-Man Choi got it on base at least, but man. But he should be leading off at 4,100 versus Trent Thornton. Now, Trent Thornton's not the worst pitcher in the world, but he has been vulnerable to lefties. So there's a couple good lefties in this lineup, and I don't mind Choi leading off at that cheap price tag. And that bullpen's bad too, so if they can get to Thornton early, I think they can have a pretty good game. And then Jake Lamb at 4,100. I told you guys, I have a lot of Philly and Arizona bats listed here. And I'm looking at Vegas, and they don't agree with me, but I don't know. I like the matchup for both guys. I think you could hit the over on that. But yeah, Jake Arrieta, he sucks versus lefties, so give me Jake Lamb. He's pretty good versus righties. And then second base, I don't like second base tomorrow that much, so I actually filled this position out last. But Luis Arias at 4K, Atlanta's going to be calling up Folty, who's not had a good season. He's actually been worse versus righties, but that doesn't mean he's the greatest versus lefties either. So I don't mind going with the Twin stack. Again, I play the Twins a lot. I probably play the Twins more than anybody. You guys know that, so don't mind them either. Then Cesar Hernandez, or Cesar. I think it's one of those. But Hernandez, 3,800. He should be leading off versus Mike Leake. Mike Leake is worse versus righties, but Hernandez is better versus righties, so something's going to give there, and he's leading off for a team I have interest in, so don't mind Hernandez. And then Scooter Gennett, 3,100. Trust me, I'm tired of playing him too, but he did homer that one day, so I'll give him credit for that. But he's basically a free square if you need the salary. He's 3,100 versus Anibal Sanchez, who we do want to use lefties against. He's been pretty tough on righties, but not the best versus lefties, allowing an ISO over 200. So don't mind Scooter Gennett if you need the value. And then at third base was loaded, so a lot of good options here. And again, this is a 15-game slate. There's like 30 guys at each position. I like more than 3 at each position, but I don't want to list 30 guys. It would be an hour-long video, and it wouldn't help you listing the entire slate as a good place. So, anyway, Rafael Devers at 5,400, going up against Jacob Junis. He gives up quite a bit of power. He's not the worst pitcher in the world. He's got a decent strikeout rate, and he has had good games. But I think the Red Sox are going to be a little too much for them. If JD is out again with that back flaring up, that's a hit to their entire lineup. But still don't mind Devers versus the righties. He's been elite versus them this season, and he continues to smash. And people usually don't play him. I will say that's probably because his price tag's insane, but still. Then we got J Ram at 4,800. Hirato's actually a reverse splits righty, but the Indians have an implied run total of over 6, and these guys are much better hitters than Hirато is a pitcher, so I'm going to give the advantage to all the Indians here, and I think they're one of the top stacks of the entire night. No surprise there coming from an Indians fan. I'm always listening to Indians and Twins on here, but hey, it usually works out, so can't complain there. And then Manny Machado at 4,400. He's really cheap going against a lefty, and he's been arguably a top 3 hitter in the league versus lefties this season, absolutely smashing ISO over 400. So would not be surprised there to see a decently cheap home run at 4,400. And he's also eligible at the shortstop position, so I could see him carrying a decent amount of ownership. And then at shortstop, we got Frankie Lindor, 5,500. He's priced to the moon, so I don't expect him to have too much ownership, unless if you're playing Cortes, you could afford him, but love the entire Indian stack versus Hirато and the Texas bullpen. Jorge Polanco at 4,600 versus Folty. He's a much better hitter versus righties, so I do like Polanco, and he's decently cheap compared to the rest of the Twins. Then Jose Iglesias, 3,700 versus Suarez, who gives up a good amount of fly balls. We're in Great American Ballpark, so that could equal some home runs. He does give up a lot of power, and Iglesias has been better versus lefties this season. Then in the high-end outfield, we have Nelson Cruz at 5,900. Folty's been better versus righties and lefties. Cruz is on an absolute tear this season, and especially lately, so I don't mind if you go with Cruz. I will say he's overly expensive, so I'm only playing him in twin stacks. The Max Kepler, 5,400, the best player of all time, best player in baseball ever. Obviously, I'm kidding, that's Mike Trout, but I played this guy more than anybody. He continues to produce almost every single night, and he's facing a righty and Mike Folty, who's just not been very good, so I love Max Kepler today. I will say he's really expensive, so I'm only probably playing him in in twin stacks, but if you want to one-off him, obviously no problem with that. He's probably going to go yard. Then Corey Dickerson, who I gave an uppercase I to for no reason, but he's 4,900. Now, he didn't play, was it today? Because he was battling an injury, but I'm going to hope he's okay, because I do think this is a great spot for him versus Mike Leake. And I will say he could end up leading off instead of Hernandez. But either way, I love Corey Dickerson tomorrow. He's very good versus righties. I know I said Mike Leake's worse versus righties, but that doesn't mean we can't use the lefties either. So I don't mind Corey Dickerson at all. I think he's a great part of that Philly stack. And the Philly stack's overall kind of affordable. They don't really have anyone over 5K, so I do like the Phillies. And then in the mid-range outfield, we have Shohei Ohtani at 4,800. Desclafani is a good pitcher, but when it comes to lefties, that's where he's vulnerable. And we're in Great American Ballpark, so it's a good park boost for the Angels, even though the Angels Stadium isn't the worst place for hitting at all. But I do think we could get a home run here, and he's probably not going to have any ownership because no one's really going to be playing the Angels, but he's my favorite guy from LA. Then Eddie Rosario at 4,800. He's a more reasonably priced Twins bat like Jorge Polanco versus Mike Folty, so I don't mind if we want to go with him. Then Jorge Soler at 4,700. Now, this is an interesting matchup. Soler's had a lot of power versus righties this season. And Cashner, like I say every video that he pitches on, he is a reverse splits righty now. He used to be really, really bad versus lefties. That has completely switched this season. He's really bad versus righties, only a 15% K rate, ISO above 200, so I don't mind going with Soler there. I think we can get a home run out of him. And then in the value outfield, we got Yasiel Puig at 4,400. Now, these guys might not seem like values to you, but I think with the pitching options we have, we don't really have to dumpster dive. And if I'm going to dumpster dive, I'm probably doing that at second base anyway. But this is a great matchup for Puig. He's been awesome versus righties this season, and Hirata has been really bad versus righties this season. Indians have one of the highest implied run totals. He's probably going to bat cleanup. Give me Yasiel Puig tomorrow at this price tag, and he's always got stolen base upside too. And then Bryce Harper at 4,400 versus Mike Leake. I can see him being extremely popular, and that's for good reason. Cole Calhoun at 4,500, a lefty versus Desclafani. Gerard Dyson at 4,500. He's a lefty versus Arrieta, and he's got a lot of speed. David Peralta, he's going to be really popular tomorrow, in my opinion. 4,100 versus Arrieta, and I do have him as a core play. It just makes a lot of sense to me. It's too cheap. Jock Peterson at 4K, going against Miles Mikolas. We always love Peterson versus righties, but man, he's not been doing much lately. Yeah, we'll say that. And he can be a streaky guy. He can. And then Michael Brantley at 4,300. I just had to throw him on here. It's not the best matchup in the world, but Marquez has not obviously been very good this season. But Brantley, going against a righty in the mid 4K range, by rule of law, he has to go on the sheet. That's what I said earlier in the season, so I have to follow the rules that I set. And then for the core plays, I want to spend it for either Wheeler or Greinke. Then I'll figure out SP2 if I want to punt with Cortes, depending on some news coming out tomorrow. Or we could go with Chase Anderson at that really cheap price point. Then David Peralta at 4,100. I think he's too cheap versus Arrieta. And then Yasiel Puig at 4,400. I think it's an awesome matchup. And hopefully it goes overlooked. I probably won't because people are getting really smart for MLB. But I do like the matchup there. Then the top stacks for me are the Indians, the Twins, the Red Sox, the Phillies, and the D-back lefties. Yeah, it's making my throat dry. Anyway, that's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope it was very helpful for you. And remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the new videos. Really appreciate that. Follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. Hit the link in the description below for Patreon. And I wish you guys the best of luck on this monster slate.